Pretty sure this is first year of PA school stuff. It's so in depth. This would be like if you were gonna be doing neck surgery. What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna be covering some study tips and techniques and kind of how to survive PA school. If you follow me on Instagram, I asked you guys what you wanted to see in my next YouTube video, and then I narrowed it down to the top 4 answers that I received, and this video got the most votes. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, I have to split this up into my didactic year and then the clinical year because the studying is totally different and the material you cover is also very different. My didactic year was about a year and a half long, 18, 19-ish months. It was a lot of PowerPoints. It's pretty much the same as undergrad. So I thought for whatever reason that when I got to PA school, I would no longer be learning using PowerPoints, but that's just not the case. I guess it's one of the best ways to present information. So in PA school, you'll get a ton of PowerPoints, and those lectures are mainly what I studied for all of my exams. You should also be aware that there will be some days in PA school where you'll have an hour and a half or a 2-hour class, and whoever's lecturing, they might cover 200 slides in those 2 hours. Like they'll power through slides, and you're gonna be sitting there bombarded with all this information. And once the class is finally over, you're gonna go to your next class, and it's probably gonna happen again. So it's a lot of information at once. Some of my best advice is the harder classes, the ones you have to study for the most, try and stay on top of those notes. Study each night a little bit if you can. You'll kind of get an idea of which classes are gonna be easier and which classes are harder, or the ones that you can like put off towards closer to the exam to actually start studying, because those courses do exist in PA school. Not every class you take is gonna be impossibly hard. I think there was at least one class every semester where you could put off studying until the night or two before the test and devote all of your time and energy to like anatomy or physiology or pathophysiology, some of those harder classes that are gonna require you to be studying up front weeks and weeks in advance of the exam. Another thing that you should take note of is depending on how you studied in undergrad is going to have an effect on your performance in your first semester of PA school, especially like the transition. So in undergrad, if you didn't have to study a lot, if you crammed the night before and get away with straight A's, just know that that is not necessarily true in PA school. Yes, some classes you can cram the night before and do okay on the test, but a lot of the classes are gonna require studying way in advance. And if you didn't do this in undergrad, it's gonna be a huge transition for you, and it's gonna take a little bit of time to adjust. But if you are a studier in undergrad like me, I have to study all the time, otherwise I don't get the material. It doesn't click. I can't read something one time and just know it. I have to study it over and over again for it to kind of just make sense and stick in my mind. So you'll definitely find that's less of a transition if in undergrad you studied a lot. Something else I will say is that study during the week as much as you can and save your weekends for hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, going to the bar, watching movies. Try to keep your weekends free. It's gonna provide you with some time away from PA school and your studies and some relaxation. You're gonna get burnt out if you continue to study week in and week out and not give yourself any kind of break. My schedule was work hard during the week and play hard on the weekends, and that's what I pretty much stuck to. It was rare that I would study on the weekends unless there was a test or something coming up at the early on that following week. So earlier I was talking about the PowerPoints that I used to study in didactic, which was the bulk of the materials that I looked over for tests. There are textbooks that your program is going to ask you to rent or purchase. Just like in undergrad, sometimes you don't use these textbooks, so they are kind of a waste of money. So always check with the people who have gone through the program, the class ahead of you. See if the textbooks that are required are actually required, if you actually do use them. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money and you're not gonna use them, honestly. Some of the classes that I had that kind of stick out to me in terms of better retention of materials was anatomy, and I think it's because we had printed out notes and we had to color in different body structures while we were learning it in lecture, which really helped. And also pharmacology, which was all handwritten. It was fill in the blank style. I think that form of learning, I think I just do better with it, and it was different from a PowerPoint. So my brain had to kind of learn it differently. It wasn't like I was just staring at another 150 slide PowerPoint for the next 2 hours. There would be times when I was excited to study anatomy just for the sheer fact that I wasn't looking at a computer. It was It was on paper, I could physically hold it, I could physically flip the page, and there's just something about that that helped me retain information. I don't know. I did find a box of junk from Didactic year of PA school. Here's a clipboard that I use in my anatomy lab, just for exams whenever we would have to go through for our practicals. Little fun fact. I bought this before PA school and I never used it. Let's see what else we have in here. Oh, here we go. Here's some anatomy coloring books. Wow. Triangles of the neck. This is like, I mean, it's anatomy, so they're gonna give you a foundation for what you need going forward, but it's so in depth. This would be like if you were gonna be doing neck surgery. Landmarks, where cranial nerves go. So here's a quick example of what we colored and what we learned. This was on cranial nerves. This is the maxillary division. And you can see all of the different fossa that V2 actually goes through. Man, it's amazing how much you can actually forget. Trigeminal ganglion, there's V2 going through the foramen rotundum, the pterygopalatine fossa, infraorbital nerve, yep, giving you some innervation to the soft palate. Stuff that I will never use, but that's just an example of some of the stuff that we did. Here's maybe a better one. Muscles of the tongue, different coloring there. Much more tactile, that's why I liked anatomy. All the coloring was fun. Physiology notes, and some more anatomy. But here's some physiology quizzes. Look at that, 48 out of 48. I'm so smart. I will say, I don't ever talk about grades, but I had killed physiology. I actually ended the course with over 100%. See what I mean? Boom. Hey, I love physiology. I don't know what it was about it, but I got the material. It all made sense. And as you can see, physiology was all of our tests were like short answer. Or these are just the quizzes. The tests were all multiple choice, and the majority of our tests were multiple choice, but the physiology quizzes were all short answer, essay style. I don't know what else is in here. I think that's pretty much it. It's the only stuff I saved. It's funny looking back on all this stuff. It feels like it wasn't that long ago, but it was 2.5 years ago, which is crazy. So if we transition to rotations or my clinical year, my studying changed quite a bit. So I started using Pants Prep Pearls almost all the time. I hardly used it in Didactic. I didn't really know how to use it yet because we had all this other information or material that we could look at. I would use it in instances where I wasn't sure what was exactly gonna be on the test. Pants Prep Pearls always came in clutch then. But during my clinical year, I've used it all the time, honestly. It's one of the better resources that you can use. The information is straightforward. So I love using Pants Prep Pearls. The topic lists on the PAEA website that tell you what's gonna be on your exam, that has guided my studying so far in my clinical year. That really helps. It gives you a great idea of what's gonna be on the test. And Online MedEd is a great resource that I've used. And Online MedEd has really carried me through my clinical year, and I feel like they have a lot of awesome information. The videos are great, the notes are even better. It's all super high impact and directly applicable to all the rotations that you do, but especially your internal medicine rotations, because that's what Online MedEd was really built for, and that's where they pride themselves, is being able to educate students not just for their board exams, but also on the wards. So Online MedEd has been solid for sure. And I'll also just say that in your clinical year, there is a lot to study, but there's a lot that you learn actually throughout the day. Hearing your preceptor talk, seeing patients, just seeing the same things over and over again, it solidifies that information in your mind, which really helps. And also, you'll find that you study a lot at the beginning of your rotations, like the first 2, 3, 4 months, and then you realize that information or topics start to repeat themselves as you take these end of rotation exams, and you become more confident with the material, so you don't have to study as much, which is really nice. I have so much more free time in my clinical year than I did in Didactic. Didactic, it always felt like I was trying my hardest to stay on top of all the material there is to cover, trying to get good grades, trying to make sure that I was a good student, which I was. I worked really hard, but in my clinical year, I feel like there are some weeks, literally some weeks, where I don't even open a book. I go to work, I come home, hang out. Before I know it, it'll have been a week, maybe 2 weeks since I've actually studied anything. So that's when I'm like, all right, I need to kind of get back into the textbook, kind of look over some things, make sure I'm ready for this upcoming test. But that's totally natural. You'll find yourself doing that as you go through rotations and become more comfortable, especially with the family medicine and internal medicine rotations. So you have 2 of them. Our program doesn't allow us to take one test for the 2. We have 2 separate tests. So you're literally tested over the same topic list for family medicine and internal medicine. So you've seen it all before. You've hopefully passed the first one, so you have a lot more confidence going into the second one. And it doesn't require the same amount of studying, which is really nice. One thing I should mention is that if you were a solo studier in undergrad and you did fine and that worked for you, that's great, but that may not be the case once you get to PA school. A lot of my friends, they studied by themselves in undergrad, but then they felt that they studied so much better in groups in PA school. That wasn't me. I have remained a solo studier. I just do better by myself. There's something about studying with a group of people that gives me anxiety. So I've tried it, but when I'm studying with a group of people and I feel like I know a topic and I move on, or there's a topic I haven't gotten to yet and then other people are talking about it, it stresses me out. I feel like I don't know all the stuff that they're talking about, so then I just start to worry and then I can't focus. I hate studying in groups. I never did it. It wasn't for me. So if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Do what works best for you. Try to change up your study spots. There are times when I would study at home in the kitchen. I'd go to Starbucks often. I'd study outside in parks. You gotta make sure that the environment that you're studying in is gonna allow you to focus and do well. So that's pretty much it for this video. Just trust that the program that you get into, they're going to give you so many lectures and so many PowerPoints and all the resources that you need to be successful in your didactic year to set you up for your clinical year. And then once you get to your clinical year, it's really just building on all that information from didactic year and then maybe using some of the resources that your program may not have recommended to you, such as Pants Prep Pearls or Online Med. Those 2 have worked awesome for me. So you'll figure it out. Your program will not leave you hanging. There is a lot of information to study, but you get through it, you work hard, and before you know it, you're out seeing patients and things are starting to click. And it's a really good feeling knowing that all this information that you worked so hard to learn, you can actually apply. It's not like you're studying plants in undergrad and you're never gonna use that again. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and have a great day.